Welcome back to Unbroken Arrows. You don't get Greg right now, so it's just me and Trey. And today we have Kinser with us. He is from
Renovo Seed.
Renovo Seed.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, yeah. I talked with Greg, and just the kind of mission and background that you guys have is really cool here. The awareness that you're spreading, just being a part of life in general. There's a lot of hardships and adversity, and what you guys are bringing with Unbroken Arrows to the hunt is a cool mission to be a part of, and trying to spread awareness to other guys that can connect with a group of guys like you.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate that. So you had said you're from Missouri, born and raised there?
Born and raised in Higginsville, Missouri. My parents now live in Lexington, Missouri, and that's where we have our outfitter. I'll eventually be moving back there, but working with Renovo Seed here in Brookings, South Dakota until May.
Is that part of like an internship? Are you in school right now? How did you get connected with them?
So I guess I got connected through a friend that went to SCSU, Wildlife and Fisheries degree, and they were looking for a sales position, and more so geared towards like the conservation wildlife side of it. So I started that in May full-time, or March full-time, and now coming in May, my sales region will be moving south back home, so kind of spreading our conservation and wildlife initiative down there, helping hunting lodges, helping habitat organizations, conservation districts, stuff like that.
Growing up, did you do much for planting seeds and food plots and anything like that?
Yep, so it was learning a lot of trial and error from our dad. Our dad was like, let's throw seed out there, we got rain coming. Okay, it didn't grow, why didn't it grow? Well, we need more seed. And kind of learning the
just keep adding more.
Just keep adding more, yeah. And kind of learning the trial and error of that, and actually working as an outfitter where you got to provide for customers. Things need to be in flow and working well. And then learning the agronomy from these guys has been really good for us, of knowing why something doesn't grow, how we can get it to grow better, and how we can maintain that for years to come, basically.
That's super cool. So growing up, did you guys have the outfitter, or is that something you said you and your brother started it? Is it more recent, and what's the outfitter's name?
So the outfitter's name is Wildman Outfitters in Lexington, Missouri. But that's something we started just 3 years ago. Not very old, something that we're passionate about hunting, but what we're really passionate about is giving memories to other people, and that's how we kind of came across just doing it for friends, and then eventually we started charging people, and now we're trying to make a career out of it.
Nice.
So as a amateur food plotist, I guess is the word I'm going to use, even though it's not a word. So last year, it was the first time I've ever even done a food plot. My dad's done some in the past, but he did them and he fenced them, and I just went and shot deer over them. What is one tip that you would have? Because ours did not grow. We got maybe 2 inches of, I think we were doing some sort of beans or something, which I think part of it was we just didn't have the rain that we needed. But what's something that you would say, like if you're going to start and you're going to want to plant something, make sure you do this one thing?
Seed to soil contact is the absolute number one thing to have a successful food plot. So as my dad and I would throw seed out and it wouldn't grow, we didn't have any seed to soil contact. So what's common is birds will eat it, rain will wash it off the soil, and it just doesn't get the penetration that it needs to go into the ground. At the end of the day, the seed needs the soil, it doesn't need the dirt on top of it. So having good seed to soil contact and looking up what's the best way to plant. So clovers, you can frost seed. Soybeans, you want to have a smother crop to weed out the weeds, and then you kill the smother crop and then you plant soybeans into it. Planting in the fall, you're planting brassicas, you're planting cereal grains. You want to have a weed-free plot, and you want to get those down half an inch deep into the soil. And that may be tilling, that may be no-till drilling, that may be planting and dragging something across and getting rain. But that is the number one thing, is seed to soil contact.
That's crazy. Like, I've learned about this so much this weekend. I had no idea all that much went into it.
Yeah.
Like you just throw them and you hope for the best.
Well, that was us for the longest time.
I planted some grass once.
Yeah.
Turned brown after about 3 days. Not sure what happened there.
Stayed green all winter. I don't know how, but it did.
That's awesome. And you talked about earlier when we were talking about your outfitter, you had said that you want it to be somewhere that you can grow memories. And what, like growing up, I remember skipping school. My dad would take us out of school and we'd go and we'd drive around and we'd shoot geese and we'd shoot pheasants. And then he'd buy me Mike and Ike's at the end of the day. And that was like our thing. What are some of those memories you had growing up that really like drove this home for you and made it something that you wanted to do?
It's just like all the fun things that we did. My brother and I, my cousins and I, and my father, we'd go and we'd spend a weekend out in the woods and hunt. And we do stupid, funny things together that it seems like it was yesterday. It's hard to forget those things. And on top of that, you're just out in nature. You're learning more about God's creation and what is here before us and what will be here after us. And those are memories that are just, that they last forever. And you talk to any avid hunter, and they all have those. They all have the same thing.
I just got chills. Yeah. I know. And you sit down with anyone that hunts, and you will talk stories for hours. And it's crazy.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Even you sit down with some of your older gentlemen and women, and you'll hear the things from 30 years ago that you would never even imagine being able
that
to
they
do
remember
today.
like it was yesterday. Like
that too. But even like the amount of birds and the amount of deer and all of that it's like, that's crazy. And having the correct seeds and the food plots and the grasses is going to help bring all of that back.
So how has Pheasant Fest been for you?
Pheasant Fest has been awesome. As Renovo and Millborn Seed, we had a booth over there. We're getting a lot of new customers that come by and ask about what can I do in my plot? How can I bring more pheasants? How can I bring more deer? What can I do for improving the soil health for my crops? Stuff like that. So it's what we're trying to do is spread the awareness of soil health, spread the awareness of wildlife management. And it seems like there's a lot of new people that are kind of new to the area, new to us, and we were able to spread that mission, as well as just seeing some old faces that have bought from us for years. That's also good too.
Awesome.
Is this your first time being at Pheasant Fest?
This is personally my first time. I think this is our third time as a company being here.
How have you guys just personally liked it? Have you gotten to walk around much?
Yeah, walked around several times. Sometimes it's a little too crowded, but
yeah, it's been chaotic.
All day yesterday.
Yeah, but there's so many people that are in the Sioux Falls area, but then there's people from Texas, people from Oklahoma, people from Montana that have traveled out here, and they come all across the country to come to one of these events and just learn what we've learned and learn the new stuff that other companies are coming out with, technology, clothing, stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's been super educational for me too, because like I said earlier, like half of the stuff that we've learned on this podcast, I had zero idea how much depth there was to it. Like especially with Daryl Duvall over there with NRCS, he was talking about all the same things you were talking about with the seed and everything, and how to plant it and how to keep it through the winter, how to keep the habitat correct for pheasant, like all this different stuff that I never even thought people thought about.
Trey and I grew up, we didn't know each other. We met last year?
Yeah.
But we just had very different upbringings. I grew up, I have wonderful family friends that have huge properties that have specifically grown food plots and grasses and trees for pheasant hunting. So in the back of my head, it's always been yeah, people do this. They're out there thinking about, well, if I plant this and this and this, this is gonna be the hot spot for pheasants. And if I put this section of corn over there, that's where I'm gonna hunt my deer. And getting to talk to people that maybe even have just focused on pheasants and haven't ever thought about the deer side of things or the other way around, it's just completely different strategies.
That's a cool thing too, because my upbringing with my dad, as he's talked about before on a couple of these episodes, that he's in his re-engagement. He kind of got away from hunting. I mean, life happens. It was years. I think we went out maybe less than 10 to 20 times in my growing up. But we'd go out pheasant hunting. We'd spend a morning out. We'd have a good weekend. But it's with Catherine, she's every weekend during the season, every day after work, everything like that. That's something I'm hoping to get to experience with the combining of families here. So I can learn a lot more from her and her entire family.
Absolutely. And just using the other resources, I know a lot about my industry because I've worked in it. And then there's people like the NRCS and the programs, and all the knowledge they have goes way beyond what I know. but they focus on like absolutely everything. So you're a deer hunter, you want to improve the habitat. NRCS helps you with programs that can give you cost share money, but it's also not only going to help your deer habitat.
It helps everything.
It's going to help absolutely everything.
Yeah. That was another thing that I learned that was just, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit to the family side of things, you and your brother, and it sounds like your dad. Did your mom hunt much at all?
Yeah, she was kind of like the tag along, keeping all of us boys in check.
Make sure you smell
doing her
okay.
job.
Yeah, doing her job. And her thing was putting meat in the freezer. Like, you guys need to be out here, or if you guys are gonna be out here sitting in the cold, why don't we take home, a lot of deer?
Take home something.
Yeah, while we're trying to trophy hunt. But it was cool to have her and kind of have the camaraderie of that. And growing up in a world where it seems like hunting is a monoculture of, it's just a male sport or whatever. Having women in the field, it's really cool, especially your mom, too. So kind of growing up with that, it was cool to have her in the mix, too.
That's awesome.
It's awesome
and
to
it's
hear.
just the four of you?
Just the four of us. So we have a couple of cousins that we're really close with. One of them passed away in 2019, and that was kind of like the inspiration of our outfitter. But yeah, it just all those memories like that. It's just like that. You remember them just like yesterday. That kind of fuels our passion too. Of his main mission was getting other people to outdoors, and the outfitter kind of helps us do that and helps us relive his dream through that too.
That's amazing.
That's very
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's
Fits healing through the hunt very well.
That's what we're doing here. Yep. And I've talked to plenty of people this weekend, and everyone's got something like that, right? Everyone's been touched by death in some sort of way, and it sucks to talk about, and it hurts, but you're keeping those memories alive, and hunting is one of the ways that so many people can keep that memory of them alive. If anybody has questions about food plots, seeds, grasses, how can they get in contact with you or the company?
Absolutely. So you can go to the website, renovoseed.com, and we've got like an info box. You can also call in. Our direct sales team is really supportive and very dynamic in what they know. And if they don't know something, they can pass it off. Specifically for me, I'm really bad with cover crops and alfalfa, but I know about conservation and food plots. So they can pass it off to me. My email is on that website too. That's how they can get in touch with me, just specifically for that.
That's awesome. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met you on Friday, and I just met you today. But just learned about your podcast this weekend. For anybody that's listening to this, this is a great awareness builder for people that are trying to connect with the hardships of life, the adversity of life, and healing through the hunt, which is what your guys' initiative is. I think it's just an awesome thing for those struggling in life, or those that have lost loved ones like I have, like everyone has, healing through the hunt and having a community that you can grow with. This is an awesome podcast to listen to. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you, Kinser.
I really appreciate
that.
you. I'm blushing.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. And how does Greg sign off? I've never signed off before.
We can just sign off right now. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
guys.